The island that shouldn't exist. Earth's strangest geological freak. There are places on Earth that feel strange. There are places that feel remote. And then there is Macquarie Island. An island so bizarre, so scientifically impossible, and so violently alive that it shouldn't exist at all. From the moment you step onto its shores, the island tells you you're not in a normal place. The beaches are covered with what look like enormous smooth boulders until one of them snorts, rolls over, and reveals itself as an elephant seal the size of a car. Hundreds of them, crowded together so tightly you can barely find a path between them. Before you can even take all that in, the weather makes its presence known. The wind doesn't blow here, it attacks. A 120 km/h gust slams into you hard enough to knock you sideways. Rain doesn't fall vertically. It arrives horizontally, stinging your face like thrown gravel. And just when you start to adjust, the ground itself rumbles beneath your feet, as if the island is reminding you that it's still being built in real time. Then comes the moment that truly breaks your understanding of the world. You look down at the ground you're standing on, and you realize you aren't standing on normal rock at all. You are standing on the Earth's mantle. Actual mantle rock, material that should be buried 6 kilometers beneath the seafloor, somehow sitting exposed in the open air. There is no other place on Earth where you can walk across the seafloor, touch the mantle with your hands, and never go underwater. Macquarie Island is the only one, and understanding why requires diving into one of the strangest geological stories on the planet. Macquarie Island sits in the middle of the Southern Ocean, exactly halfway between Tasmania and Antarctica. It's a thin, bending strip of land, 34 kilometers long, barely 5 across, surrounded by some of the most violent waters on Earth. There are no trees here, no shrubs, no warm nights or mild seasons. Even summer struggles to rise above 7 degrees Celsius, while winter averages around 4. It is a place where the difference between seasons is so small, it barely matters. Because the island lives inside one of Earth's most extreme climate engines, the roaring 40s and furious 50s. These wind systems circle Antarctica non-stop, with nothing to slow them down except this one unfortunate island. The Southern Ocean acts like a gigantic heat reservoir, absorbing warmth in summer and releasing it in winter, keeping temperatures nearly the same year-round, but locking the island into a constant, relentless state of cold, wet, and wind. Macquarie receives more than 300 days of rain, sleet, or snow every single year. Storms roll in with almost no warning, and the wind regularly reaches speeds that would qualify as a severe storm anywhere else on the planet. And yet, amazingly, millions of animals come here anyway. More than 3.5 million seabirds treat this thin sliver of land as a breeding paradise. Around 80,000 elephant seals haul themselves onto its shores every year. 4 species of penguins crowd the beaches in densities that seem impossible, turning entire coastlines into a living, squawking, marching sea of feathers. But the wildlife, the weather, and the isolation are not the main reasons Macquarie Island is unique. The true strangeness lies in the ground itself. To understand why, it helps to remember that most islands follow very simple rules. Volcanic islands, like Hawaii or Iceland, form when magma rises from deep within the earth and builds layer upon layer of lava until it rises above the water. Continental fragments, like Madagascar or New Zealand, are pieces of land that broke off from larger continents. Macquarie Island is neither. It is made entirely of deep oceanic crust and upper mantle rock, material that has no business being above sea level. The island exposes a complete ophiolite, layers of mantle peridotite, serpentinized green minerals, coarse gabbro, vertical magma sheets known as sheeted dikes, and pillow basalts that formed when lava erupted into cold seawater. Normally, these layers exist miles beneath the ocean floor, never seen by human eyes unless brought up in small samples through deep-sea drilling or underwater expeditions. But here, they're simply lying in front of you. You can pick up a rock from the mantle like it's no big deal. And the reason this happens is because the island is sitting on one of the most chaotic tectonic intersections on Earth. The Indo-Australian Plate and the Pacific Plate meet directly beneath Macquarie Island. North of here, the Pacific Plate sinks underneath the Indo-Australian Plate in a classic subduction zone. But as you travel south, that neat, predictable movement suddenly collapses. Instead of one plate diving below another, the plates begin grinding sideways, pushing against each other, twisting, jamming, and lifting. This region is a tectonic pressure cooker. For millions of years, the plates have squeezed the ocean floor upward, forcing deep earth rocks toward the surface. The island is the result of this incredible battle. It wasn't formed by volcanoes. It wasn't pulled from a continent. It was physically pushed upward by the Earth itself, as if the planet is trying to reveal its own insides. In 2004, a magnitude 8.1 earthquake ripped through the region, the kind of earthquake powerful enough to shift coastlines. Smaller quakes happen all the time. The island isn't dormant. It is constantly adjusting, constantly rising. If you walk across Macquarie Island, you can literally travel upward through the Earth's interior. You begin on mantle rock that formed in pitch-black darkness, 6 kilometers beneath the ocean. A short hike brings you to gabbro, a coarse, dark rock from the lower crust. Further up, you encounter tall, parallel walls of hardened magma, sheeted dikes that once carried molten rock upward toward underwater volcanoes. And finally, you reach pillow basalts, bulbous lava formations created instantly as molten rock hit cold seawater. There is nowhere else on Earth where the interior of the oceanic crust is exposed like this in an active tectonic zone. It is a geological window unlike any other, a place where the planet is showing you a cross-section of itself. But as strange and rare as the geology is, the human story on Macquarie Island is filled with tragedy, damage, recovery, and unexpected triumph. In the early 1800s, sealers arrived at the island, and what followed was one of the most devastating wildlife massacres in history. Elephant seals were slaughtered by the tens of thousands to boil their fat into oil. Fur seals were hunted to near extinction. Penguins were killed in horrifying numbers, sometimes shoveled into giant boilers by the hundreds to produce more oil. Entire beaches turned into scenes of industrial slaughter. The island's wildlife was nearly erased in a single generation. Then, in 1911, the island's fate changed direction when Douglas Mawson's Antarctic expedition built a radio relay station here, creating the first communication link between Australia and Antarctica. This brought scientists to the island, and eventually the Australian government built a permanent research station. But even with the slaughter ended, new threats arrived. Rats, mice, and rabbits brought by ships. Rabbits multiplied quickly, eating almost all vegetation and causing massive erosion. Rats and mice devoured bird eggs and chicks, wiping out entire breeding areas. By the 1990s, the island's ecosystem was collapsing. Then came one of the most ambitious conservation operations in history. Between 2011 and 2014, a multi-year eradication program was launched to remove every single invasive mammal. Helicopters dropped bait across the entire island. Teams with specially trained dogs searched every valley, ridge, and coastal cliff. The operation cost tens of millions of dollars, required years of planning, and pushed the limits of field conservation. And it worked. For the first time in more than 2 centuries, Macquarie Island was free of rabbits, rats, and mice. The ecosystem began to heal almost immediately. Vegetation returned, erosion slowed, and bird populations started to recover. Today, the island is once again one of the greatest wildlife spectacles on Earth. Elephant seals crowd the beaches in massive groups. Giant males, some weighing more than 4 tons, fight for dominance with roars that shake the coastline. Penguins fill the island in staggering numbers. King penguins with bright orange markings, gentoo penguins with their distinct eye patches, rockhopper penguins with their wild yellow crests, and more than 1 million royal penguins, which breed almost nowhere else on the planet. Albatrosses glide effortlessly above hurricane-strength winds, using the stormy sky like a highway. Giant petrels patrol the island like opportunistic scavengers. The entire island feels alive. And then there are the people who choose to live here. Every year, around 20 to 30 researchers spend winter on Macquarie Island. They face months of isolation, violent storms, and some of the harshest living conditions anywhere on the planet. Elephant seals sometimes block the station doors. Penguins wander into work sites. The wind can rip metal off structures. Days blur together in constant gray skies. But the research conducted here is crucial. Scientists study the Earth's climate, tectonic motion, atmospheric chemistry, wildlife behavior, and the Southern Ocean's enormous influence on global weather systems. The data gathered on Macquarie Island helps scientists understand sea levels, storm cycles, carbon movement, and the long-term health of the planet. So why does this island matter more than almost any other place on Earth? Because Macquarie Island is the only spot where the Earth's mantle rises into the air in an active tectonic zone. It's the only place where you can walk across layers normally hidden miles beneath the ocean. It's a critical climate observatory located in one of the most powerful oceans on the planet. It's a conservation miracle that proves ecosystems can recover from devastation. And it's a wildlife sanctuary that supports millions of animals in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Standing on Macquarie Island feels like standing inside the Earth's own operating system. The ground shakes beneath you. The wind screams around you. Wildlife crowds every corner. And beneath your feet lies rock that formed in complete darkness, now thrust into the sun by forces powerful enough to reshape continents. Macquarie Island is where the mantle meets the sky, where millions gather in the storm, and where the planet shows you, without holding anything back, exactly what it's made of.